I was convinced that doing new things was really scary. It wasn't a conscious decision for me to not do things. It was just comfortable doing what I already knew. Just this deep fear of maybe the unknown, maybe things that are different or new or uncomfortable. And all it really took for me was hearing from these people who didn't have any experience doing something and then just decided to say, hey, I'm just gonna try it.
So how's it going, Ian?
Dude, things are going good, man. Yeah, work's good. Trying to sort some stuff out, music-wise.
Yeah?
Normally our band would be playing pretty regularly right now, but where we would normally be playing isn't really an option right now, unfortunately.
Oh, shoot.
So we don't have super regular gigs, which is nice because I have a little bit more time in my week, but also there's very clearly like a void that I'm feeling, which is a bit of a bummer, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with that right now.
Dang.
So
Yeah,
that's a bit of a bummer, but yeah, it's a weird spot. But.
So for your haircut, man, what are you thinking?
Well, we talked a little bit before we started, but pretty much whatever you did last time.
Yeah.
I know you went a little bit shorter on the sides. I forget if it was like a 3 or a 4 on the sides.
Yeah, we tapered it down pretty close on the sides.
Yeah, pretty close.
Took out a lot of weight. And then basically just allowed this to kind of blend into the sides, right?
Yeah.
And your hair is super thick, super just like
coarse and dry.
Well, it's got a lot of volume easily, and you want to try to minimize that in a good way.
Yeah, yes. So,
but yeah,
take some of the weight out of the top, shorten a little bit. But
so I'll probably take you back to the sink to soak your hair down, and then we'll start.
Cool. Ready?
So we're all hosed down.
Yeah, we're all hosed down, sopping wet, head to toe. You can't tell.
So Ian, I forget if I met you first here or at the coffee shop. You used to work down at 412.
Yeah, I think it was at the coffee shop, I believe. And I forget if it would have been the first time that you would have come in or if it was maybe like later on. But I know at some point I was like, dude, nice tattoos, because I thought your tattoos were really cool.
Nice.
And I don't know, it's just a vague connection. And then I think I found out after that we had mutual friends or something.
Yeah, friends of friends and all that good stuff.
And then we ended up here, and I haven't really gone to any other barbers. So.
Nice.
Yeah, loyalty.
But yeah, so right when I met you, you started really getting into music. Like I said, you were working at the coffee shop at the time. You just picked up the bass guitar pretty much, right? You didn't really do anything musically. You just had like Nathan and some other friends that were like, hey, you need to learn an instrument so we can start a band, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I played violin for years when I was younger. Violin and then viola, which is, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it was pretty much just one instrument. They function pretty much the exact same.
Okay.
But I played those for years, probably like ages, I don't know, like maybe like 10 to 14 or 12 to 16 maybe.
Wow.
I never really played it super consistently.
Yeah.
I wanted to play it when I was little, and then when I realized it was hard, I didn't focus super, I wasn't super focused on it.
Yeah.
But I played it for years, so I had the basics, and I played nothing for years. I never even thought about it.
Yeah.
But I'd always been really into music. Drawing had always been sort of my main thing. My brother had always been really, really into music. That's always been his primary thing, and yeah, it was, I guess, about 2.5 years ago, something like that. I sort of got a whiff that my group of musician friends, a band, was starting to form.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, to my brother, I was like, Sam, teach me how to play bass. I want to play, because I knew they'd be playing like funk music and disco, which is pretty bass-centric.
Yeah, you need a bass for that.
Yeah, it's a historically easy instrument to pick up, and also that kind of music. There's a focus on the bass. You're not just in the background all the time. Yeah. So it was a no-brainer. It's always been one of my favorite instruments, and yeah, my brother was like, all right, here's the corners you're allowed to cut. That it's just going to be a waste of time if you do this and practice this way for hours. And here's the ones that you should not cut.
Yeah.
Do these things no one else does, like practicing with a metronome. He's like, dude, just practice with a metronome for like a couple hours a week, and you'll be great in like a month. Yeah. And I was like, okay, and I did that, and it worked. And it's just, it really is that simple. So
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just being humble with learning new things and accepting the fact that other people know a whole lot more than you do.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard to learn new things if you just listen to people who are good at what they're doing.
Uh-huh.
It's really not difficult. So it's a
Yeah.
mindset thing, if anything.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
found is like asking so many questions that you feel like an idiot,
Yeah.
but you're like, that's the only way to learn
Uh-huh.
like really fast is like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I learned. So, what I did in barbering was just like, it got to the point that my teachers at barber school were like, Matt, you know the answer to this question. I was
Yeah.
like, okay. And at that point, then you got to start like actually
Yeah.
thinking for yourself.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Oh, okay. I actually
Yeah.
have to like take steps myself instead of
Yeah.
just, but.
Yeah, there's a balance to be had there for sure. But yeah, people, I don't know. People are like afraid of asking questions, or they're afraid of, I don't know. There's some element of like not being willing to, I don't know if it's asking questions or just the possibility of failure at all is what scares people off from trying new things. But like, like we both just said, it's really not that hard to pick something new up. Obviously, there are easier things and there are harder things to pick up.
Oh, for sure.
But like just the idea of learning a new skill, you can just pick something, and it's just a matter of having a little bit of drive to put the initiative in to like watch a couple YouTube videos or something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have people who know how to do the thing, just talk to them, man.
Mm-hmm.
First off, people love talking about themselves.
Yeah.
People would love to teach you how to do this thing. Just be like, oh, dude, you're the best. You're the best barber I know. Won't you tell me everything? And they'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm the best barber. Of course I'll tell you anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have a mentor, and they're just willing to help you along the way. I'm lucky enough that for music, my brother, I've always had a good relationship with, and
Yeah.
he's been in music for well over a decade. I don't even know how long at this point, but a very long time. And he's always wanted me to play an instrument. He's always wanted to be able to jam with me. And I
Yeah.
never did it because it was just too hard. It was too difficult. I never tried.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, man. Ask for help. People should just start asking for help more.
Yep. I'm honestly the worst at like, if I'm not good at something like off the bat,
Yeah.
I'm not very good at sticking with it.
Yeah.
But I always like my twin brother Steven, he's always been good at this. Like, if he has any like drive to do something,
Yeah.
he'll just stick with it, keep practicing. And I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing is like, whatever you have, you got to be willing to actually put effort towards it. And
For sure.
there's people like me that kind of wait till there's something you're kind of good at.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I think there's actually, I don't think either one of those is particularly right or wrong, actually. Obviously, if everybody could just have a mindset of being willing to jump into a new thing, and being like your brother and just being willing to just really just strap down and, put the work in, everybody would just be really great at everything. But people are usually one or the other. And like, being able to buckle down and just put the work in and get really excellent at something, that's amazing. Like on a mechanical standpoint, you can just
Yeah.
learn things so well with that. But also like from your perspective of waiting for something that you have sort of a knack for, I think that also has its own advantages because you can
Yeah.
just try a lot of things. And if
Yeah.
you can look at it from that perspective, like, okay, this thing didn't really click, let's move on to the next thing. And if you just keep moving, you'll find something eventually,
Yeah.
and then the next thing you know, then you have a new thing under your belt. And I'm sure you've already figured that out. That's just always interesting for me to process that it's like, I don't think either one of those is wrong.
Yeah.
You just figure out what cards you're dealt with and, figure out how to play them.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because what I've seen is there's some people that you see doing things, just for example, like old school American Idol. Like I feel like a lot of us have seen like those really terrible auditions
Yeah.
where people, well, they're, they put them on there just because they're terrible.
Right.
Like the people of American Idol did not care how how they were making those people look.
Yeah.
But these people thought they were great because no one told them they weren't.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so,
Yeah.
like surrounding yourself with honest people.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes it's a disservice to yourself to like be investing in something just because of the kind of the, I guess, prestige that it looks like.
Yeah, right.
Because you're kind of just like, you're always trying to convince yourself and convince others to put you in a place where you're not going to fit in well.
Right.
It's like when there might be something totally different that you're great at.
Absolutely.
If you just allow yourself to like try something new.
Yeah, for sure.
And not keep trying to crowbar this thing that after,
Right.
if you're not good at it after 5 or 10 years, I think it's safe to say you can move on.
Maybe try something else, yeah.
Or just let it be a hobby and don't try to
That's
push
it.
yourself into
Yeah.
a place where it's where people are, where you're kind of obligating people
Yeah,
to
right. No,
judge you.
that's a really good point about letting something be a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
You can just let things be hobbies. Everything does not need to be either a source of income or just your main source of income.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is okay to just let something be whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple things that I've been able to do that intentionally on my part. Like, I got really into cooking when I was younger.
Oh, nice.
And like, to the point of where I would just be watching like cooking content on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Just all the time. So
Yeah.
though I was like young and I didn't have the actual experience of making these things, my mind was just like this bank of knowledge of useless cooking information. That's all valuable information, but I've never used it. It's not really anything. It's like my mom would come to me and ask for like advice of like, what do you think this thing needs? Because she knows that I have the ideas and she has the practical skill. And after a while, she was like, why don't you go to cooking school? Why don't you do that? Like, because I have an aunt who does stuff in culinary. She was like, you could get in places. And I was like, I want this to be just for me, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need this to be the thing, because cooking is such a valuable skill. To be able to make good food for yourself and others. I didn't even want to risk. I didn't even want to think about risking coming to like hate it or something, because it's my only source of income.
And it's a hard source of income.
Seriously, and that's like the way it is with most creative things.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I had so many people telling me, oh, you should do that with your drawing. That's what I thought my drawing was going to be the thing I made money off of. And when I was in school for it, I realized, I was like, I love doing this, and it's something I'm real passionate about. And as soon as I saw what the professional workflow looked like, I was like, I love this too much to risk hating it, I think.
Yeah.
And having it be this thing that I have to work at a studio and just do what other people have an idea is cool, rather than just me making my own things that I think are cool, because that's what excites me. That's what makes me excited about it.
And you have a very unique style of art too that probably translates to some people really well, and translates to other people as, not really into it. Looks cool, but not going to buy it,
Right, exactly.
And if you were to focus so much on trying to find someone to buy it, like, that'd probably be kind of sucky.
Yeah, and it was like, I at one point it was a real easy decision for me to make, but I came to this point when I was getting out of school of like, okay, do I go down the route of saying, I want to do this professionally. I want to get hired by like a game studio or something to be a concept artist, because that's what I wanted to do. And if yes to that, that meant that I basically needed to stop doing the style of art that I do with ink and paper and pencil, and I needed to go to digital, because that's how the workflow works nowadays.
Yeah.
There are certainly certain artists who can get away with doing traditional stuff, but when
They
they're
kind of have a
hiring
platform
kids,
already.
when you're hiring kids, like, they're expected to just be proficient digitally. So I would have had to stop what I loved doing and pick up a new aspect of it, which I could potentially love. Or what I ended up deciding pretty much immediately, I was like, I would rather just have a small group of people who really enjoy what I do and actually will purchase this stuff from me because they like it that much, rather than have my stuff get in front of like thousands and thousands of people when they're all just sort of indifferent to it because it looks like everybody else. If that were my main source of income, that wouldn't be a wise choice, because I don't make that much money off of it. But that's why I decided. I was like, I want this. I'll just let it be a hobby. It doesn't have to be my source of income. And I got a regular job, and I found out that having a regular job and like 9,000 hobbies on the side is actually sort of how I enjoy living, at least right now.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that.
And what do you do for work again?
Yeah, so I work at a school near where I live. I'm a charter school. And I don't teach anybody. I'm an enrollment coordinator. So basically, when new kids are coming in, old kids are leaving, that's all me. I handle records and stuff. It's a very paperwork heavy job, but I'm also like the first point of contact for most families.
Yeah.
So I actually end up getting to interact with parents and kids quite a lot, but without the stress of being the person teaching them.
Yeah.
I just get to walk around the school and talk to them and sort of just answer questions, which I enjoy doing, and it's really just, I get to have conversations with a bunch of parents, which I actually really enjoy. And then on the other side of it, it's just robotic computer work, and I'll just listen to like 6 hours of music in a day while I'm doing computer work, which is great for me. It works really well.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. But it's like a super normal job. Like, it's a super normal job.
Were you going this way with your hair or the other way?
It depends on the length. When we do it short, I go this way, and when it starts to get long, I sort of go back over a little bit.
Okay.
But for this, when we're getting it down, I go that way.
Cool.
Typically. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. But yeah, no, super regular job, and like, that was something when I started it, I wasn't positive. I knew that, I knew that Ian would like it. I knew that just, would I enjoy the kind of work? I knew the answer would be yes, but I just didn't know how it would like fit into the rhythm of how I live my life with, being someone who has like a personally frustrating amount of hobbies.
Yeah.
There are too many things for me to give the attention to all of them, so I have to like pick. Okay, this is going to be a time that I'm going to be really into drawing, or now I'm in a music spot, or I'm going to learn lock picking now or something, right? Like, it's always something new.
Yeah.
I really didn't know how that was going to look. And as soon as I started, dude, it just clicked immediately, because it's not a physically taxing job at all, and it's not an emotionally taxing job at all. It's mentally taxing because it's questions and legal stuff and remembering things, but the fuel in the tank for like my emotional capacity and my physical capacity are always still there. So I can do the emotional stuff of my art and music, and I can do the physical stuff that I love doing, like running and walking and exploring stuff, and in the winter skiing. Like, it doesn't really, it's not taxing on any of the things that I was worried it would be.
Yeah.
And it's a great fit, man. I'm really excited about it.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we kind of are similar. Not the same hobbies, but we're both very into doing different things and adventuring and kind of making our minds learn stuff that's not something we already are kind of currently kind of engrossed in.
Right.
And I think there's just different types of people, but what are some of the benefits that you find to like being that kind of like going out on a limb to try something that's like totally new?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, actually. I mean, there's the going out on a limb in a couple different ways. Like, there's a going out on a limb of learning a new skill and making a fool out of yourself. And then there's also the going out on a limb of like the physical things that we're both into that are a bit more dangerous, of climbing and skiing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like the personal growth side of things, of being willing to just jump into something and being totally understanding that you are not going to be good at first.
Yeah.
Like, I do not understand why anyone expects to be good at anything when they start. Maybe you will be, but most of the time you won't. And that's just how it is. It's literally just how it is, and people get upset about that for some reason. The ability to do that is just so helpful, because I never used to be that way. When I was growing up, I was so, maybe afraid isn't the right word, but like, I was unwilling to do anything that was new. I sat inside and I played video games all the time until I was like 16 or 17. Like, I legitimately did almost nothing else. I worked, I had a job, and I like mowed lawns and stuff, and I did school well, but all I did was play video games, and I did nothing. And at a certain point, a couple books got presented to me that sort of challenged that, and I was like, wait a minute, why am I not doing anything?
Do you remember the book names?
Yeah, there were a handful of them. The classic ones that I'm sure we've all heard many young men getting sucked into, of Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life. That was the first one.
Okay.
The Antidote to Chaos. That was the first thing that really switched something in my brain. That it really shifted something. And then after that, this book, Born to Run, by Christopher McDougall, not the one by Bruce Springsteen. Totally different books. Totally different books. The one by Christopher McDougall, that one, that was the book that got me into running. Then after that, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, that was the one that really pushed me over the edge into being like, oh, okay, doing stuff that makes you physically uncomfortable is actually super great. And it took me a while to really let that click. But being willing to do new things is just, I don't know, it makes me, I think it is one of the main reasons that it shifted me into becoming a confident person, because I never was when I was younger. And most people aren't. Most people aren't born confident. It's something you gain. But for me, how I gained that was this willingness to just suck at things.
Yeah.
Like willingness to run, say, oh, I'm a runner now, and I could run less than a mile comfortably, like that kind of thing. Or like, oh, I'm gonna be a musician and play in a band, and I don't even know any music theory yet, and all I was doing was just practicing 16th notes in my bedroom, and that's it.
Yeah.
That willingness to just do whatever, even if it doesn't look great or feel great in the moment, it just let me sort of understand that I guess other people are in the same boat I am, and they're assuming that they're the only ones in that boat, and it just sort of helps you as the player in your game, if you want to put it that way, to sort of understand, oh, everybody else is also figuring everything out at the same time.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter how they see me. It really doesn't matter how I'm perceived. It really doesn't matter, a lot of this stuff. And when that clicked, it gives an illusion of confidence. Maybe that's all confidence is. Maybe confidence is always an illusion for everyone.
Yeah.
But for me it is, because I second guess myself all the time, but it's a matter of knowing I'm going to second guess myself and doing things anyway. I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
Understanding that, oh, hey, there's a risk in this, and being okay doing it anyways. When there's a risk, people will just not do it, whatever that thing is. And there are certain times where that's wise. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you shouldn't try to do like, you're like cliff diving with your buddies and you're like, oh, I'm going to do a backflip, but you can't do one on a trampoline. Maybe then's not the time to try it.
Yeah. I get that.
But with like the low consequence stuff, maybe that's what it is. Because obviously I'm sort of rambling. I'm processing my own thoughts as I'm talking here.
You're
but
good.
Maybe that's what it is, that it's doing more things just helps you get in tune with what risks are worth taking. What things are worth potentially looking like a fool or potentially just like getting hurt a little bit. Certain things are worth that risk. Starting a relationship, it's worth that risk if you really think it's the right person. And maybe it sucks and maybe it hurts, but then it is what it is. That stuff happens.
Yeah. I feel like in those types of places, it's worth the risk because it's worth, I think it's always worth the risk to love. No matter if it's a relationship or whether it's a person that they could even, I mean, the Bible talks about loving your enemies. You know? Right. That's a pretty big risk because they could literally kill you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think the cool thing is like it's always worth the risk if it's for love. And there's places that people like where it's not where it looks like love, but it's not worth the risk. But a lot of times that's because we're seeking validation for our own ego. But I think when you can see to be like, you know what, I just really love this person, or I feel like it's the right place to love. And I'm not looking to get something specifically out of it. It's always worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was, and sort of on a similar note, that's something that I realized. I've been getting into traveling more in the past couple of years. Traveling with people, traveling on my own, just sort of getting around. And realizing there's just like this, now that I've started doing it, it's just an unscratchable itch. And I just can't, it's like, it's always just what's the next place that I'll get to go to. If I have to wait, it's fine. But I need to know there's somewhere else that I'm going to get to see. And at first, when I started, I wouldn't have admitted it to myself, but it was very much like an Instagram travel mindset. It's like I'm doing things for the picture. I'm doing things so that other people will see how much fun I'm having rather than having fun. Which is really messed up, and it's a real thing. It's just how things work right now. And somewhere along the line, I guess from a couple of my recent trips, I just started to get to a point that it's like doing it just because of the experience. And like if I posted nothing from it, like I have so much, because I got a GoPro, I have so much footage and pictures and stuff from all my recent trips that I didn't post anywhere, and I don't plan to, and I haven't even shown them to like personal, like family or friends or anything, because I don't think about it. I'm not doing it because I used to do it so other people could see how much fun I'm having and how cool and adventurous I am. That's why I started doing it. It's like, oh, I'm going to find the craziest thing I can do so that people are impressed with how adventurous I am. And they'll be like, oh man, Ian's so cool. And it just stopped. That part of me just died somewhere along the way. Thank God. Because now it's just, I don't know, it's just being willing to do and it keeps coming back to that. Just being willing to do things that you're sort of unsure about. and just putting yourself in a situation that just like with the traveling thing, dude, it makes you feel like a video game character. It makes it feel, because it's like it's in a new place. Yeah. So you're not around all your people. The repercussions aren't quite the same socially, at least. You can look like a fool, and you're never going to see any of them ever again. So it doesn't matter. And it's like you're just able to put yourself in some goofy situations. Yeah. And those end up being the best stories that I got into. I was like, dude, it felt like I just did like a little side quest there. It's so cool. Like, really, that's how it feels. Yeah. And there's something so special to that. And that same thing translates to learning new things, to having friendships with people you're unsure about, or relationships with people you're unsure about. I don't know, the memorable things always come out of a place of uncertainty. I found, at least. Maybe that's just me. It very well could be, but in my experience, it's just what it always is. It's always when I'm least certain about something, it always ends up being something that I look back on with the most fondness. Yeah. You know?
No, that's super fun. Yeah. And I think I've kind of experienced what you're experiencing, where it's in the unexpected times, and it's also with the most unexpected people. Yeah. Sometimes you can be looking for the cool people in a crowd or in a place. Yeah. And it's with the most interesting people that you might not ever hang out with in not in real life, but like outside of that experience, or what you think is quote unquote cool, or what you might follow on Instagram. Right. It's in those conversations with the really normal, goofy people. Yeah. That you also find a lot of really interesting, fun scenarios where I found the times that I felt the most close with God and stuff like that have been in the random places where I'm kind of really uncertain or really uncomfortable. Yeah. And I just say, you know what, God, like, if this is where you want me, let's go there. Absolutely. And let's have fun with these random people who actually are really amazing. And it kind of humbles you when you think, like, oh, wow, who am I? Yeah. Like, none of us are cool. Right. Yeah. Right. We're all just trying to figure this thing out. Yeah. But so how in kind of hobbies like you're talking about, I remember when you were telling me you were getting into lock picking, different things like that, and doing things with your art and stuff like that. What are ways that you still enjoy them in a way that you're pursuing those hobbies, whether it be drawing or music or these different things, that you can have a great experience with, without it being too much?
Yeah, without letting because again, like, you and I are similar in this way, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there as well that, you have too many things to let. You can maybe pick one or two main things, but you got so many other side things. Like, you only have so much capacity to have primary activities, so they have to be side ones. And it's figuring out, and it's something I'm constantly trying to figure out the balance of, is like, what's the balance in giving the attention that I would love to give to all of the side things in a way that they're still fulfilling, and it's not just boring practice of them, but it's also enjoyable. But also, it's not doing them just to prove to people, oh, hey, I'm still into lockpicking. Hey, guys, look at this. Like, I posted, like, one video of me lockpicking, and then there's this weird pressure that no one else put on me. I put it on myself. It's like, oh, shoot, I'm a lockpicker now. I got to make sure that everybody knows that I'm not forgetting about this. And it's ridiculous, and it's just how my brain works.
When, unfortunately, we think way too highly of ourselves. Like,
exactly. Nobody cares. Really cares. Nobody cares. They didn't ask if I'm into lockpicking still. I'm in the shower being like, man, they're definitely concerned if I dropped this skill or not. Yeah. They definitely are worried about it. But they're not. Nobody cares. Which is scary in some ways, but mostly encouraging to me, knowing that people don't care about things. They're only going to care when you're really good at it. So it basically gives you free reign to just suck at things for a while, because they don't care anyways. When you're really good, then they'll care. Then they'll say, oh, you're good at drawing. Oh, your band is good, Then they'll say, oh, you're the best barber I know. But they weren't there when you were practicing. They weren't there when you were asking questions and stuff.
And they're wanting you to be the musician, the artist, whatever,
Yeah.
that they discovered you as.
Yeah, right.
Not actually the kind of artist that you aspire to be.
Right, and those people are going to come and go. And if I latch on to the fact that they're there, then they're never going to go. And I'm also never going to go anywhere, which is just a bummer.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be the case.
Yeah.
Being stagnant in that is terrifying to me. I love consistency, but I'm also terrified of being stagnant. It's a weird place to be. I think I value consistency more than the fear of stagnation, but I don't know. But yeah, no, I guess we sort of went off the rails a little bit from the initial question of like, how can you sort of find value in the lesser things that you're into?
Yeah.
Just not putting a lot of pressure on yourself. That's what I do. Like, because drawing, again, used to be the only thing for me. Drawing used to be the biggest thing. And then music took over, and drawing very much became a side thing. And for months, I would force myself to pick up my pens and my sketchbook and force myself to make something, because I told myself, and I had been told for years, that I'm the artist of the friend group. I'm the drawer. I'm the person who makes the cool, ink skulls and stuff. So I told myself this, I can't lose this skill. And every time I forced myself to do that, I didn't enjoy it, and nothing good came out of it. It was repetition for repetition's sake, and there was no actual art that was made. It was just the same stuff. And then when I sort of reconnected with that side of things, when I could enjoy it, it was when I just got really loose. And just accepting the fact that every page of my sketchbook is not going to be one of my finished drawings. So right now, most pages in my sketchbook they're more like journal entries.
Nice.
That rather than words, it's just a bunch of little pictures that my mind thinks of, you remember that one sword from that one thing you saw a couple of years ago? You should draw that. Or, what's this one character? That guy's outfit looks really cool. Try to get like the silhouette of just that, just so you can remember it. And then I'll have like writing alongside of each little thought bubble. And I can flip back to any page, and it's this really loose, fluid thing that no one is going to think looks good. If anyone flipped through my sketchbook, they're like, you're an artist? Can I see your drawings? And I'm like, sure, but like most of these are like, it's not being humble, they're not good. Like they're literally nothing. Like there's nothing to write home about there. And it's just being loose. It's just being relaxed with it. And that's a new thing to do with drawing that made it fun again, because it's so loose. And I don't need to be practiced up to make a final drawing to have it be fulfilling. The fulfillment is just in the it literally feels the same as what it does when I'm journaling, doing those kinds of sketchbook pages. It's just like thoughts just like falling out of my head and onto a page. And nobody needs to see it. I post only the highlights that are actually good. And for every one Instagram post, there's like 7 or 8 or 9 other pages that nobody's ever going to see, and that's totally fine. Those side things, it's doing it just because they're fun. Like lockpicking, right? Lockpicking I got into just because I thought it would be cool, and just because I thought it would be fun. And it is. And I did it a little bit for like 2 weeks, and then I didn't do anything with it for months until like somebody who was living in the apartment next to me was locked out of their apartment, and they couldn't get a hold of the landlord. And I was like, I got a lockpicking set. I could try to get in. And with their consent, they were
using
right there
it for good and not evil.
Yeah, literally using it for good. I was a little locksmith, and I quite literally broke into someone's apartment, like right next to me.
You sure it was theirs?
Yeah, it was. I'm positive. But that sort of thing, and no one ever needed to know about that. I didn't tell that story to anyone else. And there was one other person who was there, and they were like, "Dude, that was cool," and like, it was fun. It was a fun time. And for them, it was meaningful, but. I can't act like I was trying to be some hero. I'm going to get this person to the thing. I did it because I thought it was going to be fun. And it was. And that's a selfish way to do it, but it kept that skill alive in a way that I wasn't putting a pressure on myself. I guess it's just taking opportunities when they show up, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I think it's cool. Like, that's a great example of the same thing with one of your drawings. I saw a local tattoo artist tattooed it on someone. Yeah. We both know, and like that kind of stuff, I'm sure is also cool. Being like, man, but when your art makes impact, even when it's not huge, I think that's just as worthy as something that's huge and that makes because if you didn't make that art, that impact would not have been made.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't learn that skill, that impact would not have been made.
Right.
And I think it's the little things that it's worth it for.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I would so much rather. I have 3 people who have tattoos of drawings that I did for them on their person, and I wouldn't trade having a bunch of posts with like hundreds and hundreds or thousands even of likes and comments and stuff on Instagram. I wouldn't trade that for having those 3 drawings on someone's body for anything. Like that is every time I see that any of those people and I see the drawings on them, I'm like, holy crap! Like that was me. That was something that I did. That they were like, I like the way that you do this stuff so much that I want to have this permanently on me. Like that's wild to me. And that's a tremendous blessing. And there's not a whole lot of people who have thought that. So I don't have some huge ego or something. But the fact that there's anyone who thinks that is just ridiculous to me.
That's super fun.
It's really encouraging.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you think about how this is turning out?
Yeah, sides I think look good. Sides lengthwise are great. I think a little bit shorter on top.
Yeah.
Probably like, where are we at here? Probably gonna be like that much off top.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. Whatever that translates to. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah. So, I think this is. I mean, what I think is really cool is just the fact that I think kind of the theme of what's going on is like that you don't know the impact that you're making, but when you're focusing on an impact, sometimes you don't even make it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But when you're willing to just say, hey, this is something that I'm passionate about. This could help people. This could just be fun. Let me try it. Like, I think that's so fun to do because, and what I always think of with my different hobbies and stuff that I get into personally, I love just bringing people into things. So I do less solitary things. Like lock picking isn't like necessarily you're going to a...
Yeah, it's not a super social sport. It really isn't.
Or drawing. So we have a little different style of things, but like when you're involving meaning, purpose, people into what you're doing, I think there's such a benefit. Even just to letting your mind learn. It's a little better for the length.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like it was mostly. I left a little extra in the front, but it's looking good. Or a little more.
Just gotta sort of jostle things around a little bit, see where we're at.
Maybe a little more.
Maybe a little bit more.
Right
just that way I don't have to come back right away. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. Like, legitimately, I will have, I'll just keep using drawings. It's the you can see the results of it. It's an easy one to compare things to. Like anytime I go into a drawing, being like, maybe not go into a specific drawing, but go and sit down telling myself I want to do a drawing right now. It's always a failure. Every time I do that and I sit down saying I want to do a drawing right now, a finished thing, it never works. The only time that a drawing actually ends up working is when an idea just appears in my brain and I chew on it for like 2 months, and one day I have enough time and I can just sit down and then it just happens. And then it's done and it's knocked out in one session of just sitting down for a couple hours. But until I have that idea, that true like inspiration, that it really feels right, nothing comes out of it. And every time that I tell myself something's gonna come out of it, nothing does, and it's frustrating. So I've just sort of had to learn to stop telling myself, this time's gonna be great, because it never is. It has to happen naturally. I don't get to choose if it's gonna be great or not. That's for everyone else to decide, pretty much, at least in that capacity.
And sometimes it's just create to create.
Yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is most times.
Something that really stuck out to me that you said was how you really were an avid video gamer when you were younger. But then something you mentioned later, and maybe it was intentional, maybe it wasn't, was that you're like, when I do these things, I feel like I'm in a video game. You know, and I think the really crazy thing is talk to the person who who plays a lot of video games, like you were in that kind of mindset mentality. Because I have never been a huge gamer. But talk to the gamer who's living a lot of what they're doing, a lot of their purpose in video games. Not someone who's just enjoying it and plays games casually.
Yeah, if you just need to unwind, that's different.
Yeah, that's just not my thing, but it's like it's some people's thing. That's
sure.
good. But to the person who's wrapping up their identity and their worth in just this game, how would you encourage those people to live outside of it?
Yeah, dude, that is such a great thing to bring up. The easiest thing is everything is not as scary as you think it is. I promise. That's if I had to give one thing. That is it. Everything is so not as big of a deal as you think it's going to be. I was convinced that doing new things was really scary. Actually, most of the time when I was younger, I wasn't convinced. It wasn't a conscious decision for me to not do things. It was just comfortable doing what I already knew. It was comfortable being around my already existing people and playing my existing games. Like I wasn't even a gamer that I played a ton of games. I played the same 3 games for 6 years straight. It was just consistency was all I wanted, because doing the new thing was just, I probably wouldn't admit it if you confronted young Ian about this, but it was just this deep fear of maybe the unknown, maybe things that are different or new or uncomfortable. I don't know. But the thing that really worked for me, and I mentioned a couple books, those are all different books from different people, different backgrounds, and sort of agendas that they might be pushing. But the common thread with all those books is people either doing things or talking about other people doing things that they're not used to doing for the sake of doing something that you're not used to doing. And all it really took for me was hearing from these people who didn't have any experience doing something and then just decided to say, hey, I'm just going to try it. And realizing from their story that it really wasn't that scary. The scariest thing is the first step, where it's like if you're at a friend's house, right? You're sleeping over at your buddy's house. And you're trying to walk down the stairs at night, and you know where the stairs are, but it's too dark to see the stairs. All you had to do was just take one step down to know, oh, hey, here's the top stair, right? And then when you know where the top stair is, you know where the next one is, and the next one, and it's totally fine. But when you're just taking that one step down in the dark and you don't know exactly where it is, and you sort of have to sort of mechanically sort of twitch your foot down until your toe finds the top of the stair, it's really scary. It feels like it's gonna be. And then you make it, and you're like, oh, it was right there the whole time. And it was just my perspective was what was sort of shutting me down. Things really aren't that big of a deal. Social stuff really is not that big of a deal. Literally just look like a goofball in public. Figure out what makes you comfortable in your own skin. Maybe that's a really goofy sense of humor that very few people get. Maybe that's a really dry sense of humor, or rather than talking about yourself, talking more about other people. Maybe it's telling stories. It could be a million different things in a social setting. But just figure out what works for you. And literally just do it until it feels really good and easy and comfortable. And then, the next thing you know, you have that illusion of confidence. Because that's probably all it is. It's really not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Any of this stuff. All it took to get into traveling was one person being like, hey, I have an Airbnb with an extra room. If you buy your flight and food while you're down here, you can stay with us for free. All it took was the opportunity and saying, all right, I'll step down to this stair in the dark, and then the next thing you know, I have this whole flight of stairs leading to countries and states and places I never thought I'd get to. And it's made me the happiest I've ever been, and I would not be as happy as I am if I didn't get to do all these things. All it was is just, it's literally just being comfortable, just doing whatever. And whatever happens, happens, man.
Yeah, that's cool. One thing I love to do is to bring people in on adventures that are a little bit outside of their comfort zone, or into scenarios, I'm a pretty affectionate person generally. So even just giving someone a hug, not if they're totally averted to it or you don't know them, but hugging a friend that that doesn't feel super excited or comfortable with hugs.
Yeah.
Inviting someone camping if they've never gone camping.
Yeah, right.
Invite someone to, like your brother did, to help you learn an instrument.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to be people who are, like, if you are a person that you don't struggle with those things, make it about more than just you,
right?
And bring someone else into the experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that they can actually find the freedom that they might not have the ability or the willingness to take that first step. But sometimes, whether it was those people writing the book about what they did,
yeah,
or whether it was reaching out to, you reached out to your brother about him or about learning the bass, but he was willing to teach you.
Yeah.
Or different art teachers or things that people invested in you.
Yeah.
Being that person for other people, I think, is so important too.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially like with travel and stuff, or not even travel, just like doing things that are slightly uncomfortable that I'm used to doing. Like there's this one hiking spot around here that'll do a sunrise hike. Somebody else got me into it years ago.
Yeah.
And you just start the hike really early in the morning, and that's the only thing that makes it hard. You're starting at like 3 in the morning, and it sucks, and you're tired. But you get to the top, and it's beautiful, and it's easy, and you just take a nap, and then you're fine.
Yeah.
But it's really scary the first time. It's like every time I do it, I have to find somebody who hasn't done it. So I'm like, dude, it's not as hard as you think it's gonna be, and it's a blast, and you're gonna remember it forever. Like, you gotta do this with me.
That's
I'm gonna always end
cool.
up loving it.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I agree.
Yeah, that's
I agree.
awesome. How's that haircut looking for you, man?
Back's good, side's good. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're good, man.
Hey, dude, it's been great having you here, and always good talking with you. And maybe I'll have to take you up on that next sunrise hike.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Yeah, open invite.
Yeah.
I'll let you know once that happens.
Sounds good.